They didn't punish the man who failed. They punished someone else. Not the weakest, not the guilty, someone chosen, almost arbitrarily. And that was the point. In the Roman army, discipline wasn't built on justice. It was built on uncertainty. You could follow every order, stand your ground, do everything right, and still be the one who paid for someone else's mistake. No warning, no pattern, no logic you could trust. So something changed inside the ranks. Soldiers stopped thinking about right and wrong. They stopped asking what was fair. Instead, they started watching each other, measuring risk, calculating distance, quietly hoping that if punishment came, it wouldn't choose them. Rome didn't need perfect soldiers. It needed soldiers who believed they could be next. And once that belief took hold, obedience stopped being a choice. The question is, if fear doesn't follow rules, how do you resist it? 71 BCE, southern Italy. The Spartacus revolt had already crushed several Roman armies. Marcus Licinius Crassus took command. One cohort broke during battle. They ran. Crassus did not execute the officers. He did not flog the cowards. He lined up the entire cohort of 500 men. He split them into groups of 10. Then he gave the order. Each group of 10 would draw lots. One man would die, and the other 9 would kill him. With their own hands, the sun beat down on the dust. 10,000 other legionaries stood in perfect ranks and watched. A leather sack moved down each line of 10. Hands reached in. Fingers closed around small stones. Most stones were white. One in each group was black. When the black stone came out, the man who held it was pulled forward. No trial, no defense. He was stripped to the waist. The 9 others received heavy wooden clubs. The centurion gave the signal. They began to beat him. The first blows landed on his shoulders, then his head. Ribs cracked. Blood sprayed across the faces of the men swinging the clubs. One of them had shared bread with him that morning. The man did not scream for long. When it was over, his body lay in the dirt. The 9 killers were marched past it. They received only barley for rations. They slept outside the camp walls that night, under guard. The rest of the legion returned to drill the next day. This happened rarely. The Romans did not do it every week. Records show it only a handful of times across centuries. But every soldier knew it could happen. That was enough. Let's look at how it actually worked. A commander saw failure, a line that broke, a gate not held, a mutiny that started. He assembled the unit. He divided them into exact groups of 10, no exceptions. Each group drew from the sack. 1 fatal marker per group. The chosen man stepped forward. His 9 comrades received clubs or stones. They had to kill him in front of everyone. If they hesitated, the centurion would order them beaten too. After the killing, the survivors ate barley instead of wheat. They slept outside the ramparts like animals. The unit went back into service under tighter watch. The message was simple. Your actions matter, but they do not protect you, because the punishment is random. Now imagine the moment the sack reaches your group. 10 men. 10 hands. Your fingers touch the stones. Everyone breathes shallow. The man next to you pulls out a black stone. His face changes. For 1 second, the entire group freezes. Then the centurion points. The 9 of you step forward. You raise the clubs. Your friend, the one who covered your shield in the last fight, looks at you. He does not beg. You swing. The sound of wood on bone travels down the line. Blood hits your arms. When it ends, you march past his broken body. You smell the iron in the air, and you know the same thing could happen tomorrow. This is what made it different from every other punishment. In most armies, you punish the man who runs, the guilty one. The Romans punished someone who might be completely innocent. That destroyed the idea of safety through good behavior. A soldier could march perfectly, fight bravely, never complain, and still die because the man beside him dropped his spear. There was no calculation that guaranteed survival. Only one path remained: make sure the unit never failed. Because if the unit failed, the lottery began again. And any one of you could be next. What if the man who dies next to you did nothing wrong? How do you obey when obedience offers no protection? When fear has no face, who do you fight against? These questions lived in every Roman soldier's head. Now picture the night after the beating. The 9 survivors sit in the open outside the camp. No tents, no fire. They chew hard barley in silence. One man stares at his hands. They still have dried blood under the nails. Another keeps looking toward the ramparts where the rest of the legion sleeps safely. They do not speak about justice. They speak about who might draw the black stone next time, because they all know the unit can be chosen again. The shame is public. Every other soldier who walks past them the next morning sees the barley bowls and the empty space in the formation. The message spreads without words. Fail together, and one of you dies by the hands of the others. This system did not need to happen often. The threat did the work. Most units never faced decimation, but every soldier carried the knowledge that it existed. That knowledge changed how they watched each other. A man who felt tired during a march would force himself forward, not for Rome, but because he did not want to be the reason his group faced the sack. A soldier who saw someone hesitate in battle would step in immediately, because hesitation in one man could kill 10. The legion began to police itself. Now compare this to another system. The Persians sometimes executed entire units after defeat. They killed everyone, or they punished only the leaders. Both approaches created clear targets for anger. Soldiers could blame the king, blame the general, blame the man who gave the order. They could focus their rage outward. In Rome, the lottery removed the target. There was no one to blame except chance. And you cannot rebel against chance. You can only try to avoid it. That made the fear more complete. One death controlled 10 times as many men, and it left no single enemy inside the ranks to unite against. This is how the mechanism scaled across the empire. Any legion commander could order it. No need to ask the Senate. No long trials. The procedure was known to every soldier from the day he joined. It traveled with the legions from Spain to the Rhine, from North Africa to the Middle East. One commander used it in Italy. Another used it years later in Gaul. The threat stayed alive without constant use. Entire legions internalized it. Every cohort became a self-regulating unit. If one group failed, the men inside it fixed the problem themselves. They did not wait for officers. They watched. They pushed. They reported. Because the next black stone could have their name on it. This gave Rome something rare. A huge army that stretched across vast distances, yet needed very little daily control from the center. The fear did the governing. Units fought harder, not always for victory or glory, often simply to stay off the list. Let's return to that moment in 71 BCE. The clubs have fallen silent. The body lies in the dust. The 9 men stand covered in blood and sweat. Crassus watches from his horse. He says nothing. He does not need to. The survivors are marched past the corpse. Their eyes stay forward. But something has shifted inside them. From that day on, when the order comes to advance, they move faster. When the line starts to waver, they hold it. Not because they suddenly love Rome more, but because the image of the black stone and the sound of clubs on bone never leaves them. They know the next failure could choose any one of them, so they make sure failure does not happen. This is the core. Decimation cut the link between action and consequence. It made guilt meaningless. One man's perfect obedience gave him no safety. The only safety came from the group never failing, and the group enforced that rule with its own hands. Soldiers no longer trusted each other as brothers. They trusted the system that could kill any of them at any time. That trust was colder, but it was stronger. The empire expanded because its soldiers believed the next death was always possible. Not because they were braver than other men, but because they had been taught that safety was an illusion. And once that lesson settled deep in the ranks, Rome no longer needed to punish often. The fear worked quietly, for centuries. What if the man who dies next to you did nothing wrong? How do you obey when obedience offers no protection? When fear has no face, who do you fight against? These questions stayed with the legions long after the bodies were buried. The answer Rome gave was simple. You don't resist it. You make sure it never chooses you. And the only way to do that is to become exactly what the system demands. Obedient, watchful, ready, every single day. Decimation engineered obedience by making punishment random and personal at the same time. Random enough that no one felt safe, personal enough that every soldier helped carry it out. The unit became its own enforcer. The empire gained a military machine that regulated itself through permanent, low-level dread. It did not need perfect justice. It did not need constant violence. It only needed soldiers who believed they could be next. And that belief proved more powerful than any other form of control Rome ever tried.